Hello and welcome to this episode of Fake News Show. On this show, we talk about all you need to know about fake news or misinformation and disinformation like we normally call it here. We call it now. What is fake news? Where does it come from? How they take affect you, affect me? How do you identify fake news? How do you avoid it and report it? These and many more. Skits, comedy, yabbies, talk time. That's what we do on this show. On this particular episode, we are going to be looking at managing disinformation in the conduct of election. I miss this COVID-19 biggie palava we did so. Now wait till we don't talk to the with that. So fasten your seatbelt, not go anywhere. Come along on this ride with us. On today's episode, we'll be right back. But first, we need to enter the streets and see what people are talking about. Because I hear say one gist day between whether na politicians now they carry things pass or whether na lawyers. So I don't know who you believe or between lawyer and politician. And let's go to the street and see what people are saying. I'll be right back. Fake news.
But I think politicians do more because they always deceive us, most especially when we are approaching elections. They will come with empty promises.
Between politicians and lawyers is politicians. Politicians, they are liar past lawyer. Because a lawyer, what is written in our constitution, it is the one that they are interpreted.
Politicians are liars. Lawyers is a profession to defend their clients. So they have to manipulate in whatever way to do it. So it's a profession. So you cannot just say lawyers are liars. Rather, you say politicians they are the ones who will promise you 7-point agenda and they will end up doing nothing. So you cannot compare them with the lawyers.
Hey, welcome back. You get as it be. People they para for street chat. Everything they talk. Wait to be your own opinion. Talk to us now at CDD West Africa or use the hashtag fake news show, or stop fake news on social media. Send us a message or send a message to me, tag me at frankdonga_ on Twitter, Instagram, anywhere, and let's hear your voice. You see, the term fake news became very popular during the 2016 US election campaign. We all know that. Why? Hundreds of websites published falsified or heavily biased stories, between the Democrats and Republicans. While misinformation itself and disinformation are closely related to or associated to the use of social media among citizens, we're always saying, the people they carry rumor of fake news, social media, and as citizens they use WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook. It has also been seen in leadership circles. Confirm. Government agencies, institutions, traditional media too. It's not only social media and citizens that carry this misinformation. Misinformation is not peculiar to citizens alone. That's why everybody has to be responsible. Here in Nigeria, there were a lot of reported misinformation or fake news and disinformation during our 2015 and 2019 elections. A lot of stories. This one did that. This one paid this one. A lot happened, Now, this 2020, just in September 2020, another election has been concluded in Edo State, Nigeria. How has it been managing fake news or misinformation and disinformation in political campaigns and elections? Especially with all this COVID-19 pandemic happening. We are going to be talking to a special guest on that issue today. He's going to be walking us down that road. How has it been? Has it been easier or better? Has it increased? What are the challenges? Are people complying? But before we do that, we'll take a break. When we come back, you go know as it be. Not go anywhere. Better see they come.
Keep it real. No rumor, no fake news.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us on Fake News Show. And you know how we do it on this show? We the boss fake news to you, tell you information on misinformation and disinformation, aka fake news. And on this segment, let's talk. We have another special guest in the building. in the person of Mr. Austin Aigbe, Senior Program Officer from CD West Africa. He's joining us now. What are we going to be discussing today? We told you before, something very important. Managing misinformation or disinformation, what we call fake news, during election amidst this COVID-19 palaver when they sow. Thank you very much, Mr. Austin, for joining us in the studio.
It's nice to be back again.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
How are you managing misinformation and disinformation as far as elections are concerned?
Wow, that's a very good question because, before COVID-19, we used to have people who would go, just the same way we have soldiers of mouth. We also have soldiers of fact check. So people will send around to verify fact on the ground. So with COVID-19, you cannot, those informal network, not online, informal network that had to move from one spot to another, had to be a bit tempered with. Those movements were restricted, particularly with lockdown. You can't send someone to go to a specific location to go check an event. Even if that event happened like the next location, those days we should be able to send, please go to XYZ location, go check what's happening there. But now you can't. We just now rely more on people who live within that particular location, who is able to fact check, who have eyewitness account of the evidence, or we use technology. Technology is the biggest of it we now use. Team I, reverse Google imagery and all of that is our biggest tool. Again, with the ease of lockdown, gradually the fact checkers who can move from one location to another is being to come back.
So, according to what you have said now, moving around as fact checkers to confirm information about misinformation or disinformation has been a bit hindered because of the lockdown due to COVID-19. A bit, but now things are getting better because you can now physically go to those places where you need to get to.
Because you can make calls. You can make calls, but sometimes when you make calls and the people tell you, I'm seeing white, they could actually be seeing red. You don't want to take that in. You want someone who will call you that you know. Again, fact checker, someone who you rely on to tell you that I am seeing white. Right now it is white. But then we take it in.
Let me ask you a question. Has this COVID-19 and the effect, keeping safe, staying safe, and some shutdown or lockdown in parts of the country, with regards to election, has it slowed down the rate at which people are spreading misinformation or disinformation?
With COVID-19, remarkably, we just came out from an Edo election where a lot of things that ought to have happened before election didn't happen. For example, there ought to have been what they call the CVRO, the continuous voter registration. People who turned 18 at the point January this year, February this year, March this year, who ought to have been able to get registered to vote in the Edo election, didn't have the opportunity because of COVID-19. And the information, the disinformation that went around was that the election management body was using that to reduce the number of people who will vote for a particular candidate. So that this candidate was popular among these 18 people who turned 18, 19 or so. By disenfranchising them, you are reducing the vote of this particular candidate. And that is not true. In an attempt to manage disinformation, INEC was avoiding the crowd that comes into either to pick PVCs or to request for change of location. Usually before election, you can go into an INEC office and pick up your PVC. Just imagine a dual election. 2.2 million registered voters with about 1.7 million collecting PVC as at 2019 election. So imagine between March of 2019, when the last election took place, and just about a week ago or 2 weeks ago, depends on the time they would have been able to collect the PVCs. Imagine that number. Arguably, maybe about 100 or 200 would have collected who will be eager to vote in that election. And apparently, it affected the turnout, maybe, but again, we can't substantiate that argument. But again, there were a lot of disinformation that went out because COVID-19 restricted INEC for performing certain roles ahead of election. I just gave you one CVRO. There are a lot of coming to register, coming to collect PVCs and all of that. All of those were now used. People were changing the narrative that suggests that it was a deliberate action, that INEC was supposed to do it. It was legal. It was constitutional for anyone to do it. They were creating an environment to manipulate their results and all of that, which was completely false.
Talking about action, in your observance of the electoral process in Edo State, because I know you were very much hands-on for the Edo elections, What was your observation in terms of preparation from political parties, from candidates, from electorates? Were people compliant with the COVID-19, procedures?
It's an uphill question. But again, before the election, in majority of areas in Edo State, will tell you if you wear a face mask, you are seen as Osun. I mean, people tell you...
Break it down for us.
Osun means like an outcast. So people say that COVID-19 is not real. So why are you talking about? Why are you wearing a face mask before election?
Oh, wow.
People go to market at ease. They go to market, crowded market, they buy their gari, their yams without face masks. So why are you telling us to come to a polling unit with face masks? And again, the political actors during the campaign, you see the crowd of supporters who converge at those campaign grounds and without respect to any form of those protocols put in place. And very remarkably, there was a fake news that trended a day before election. The presidential task force did release the normal briefing, the normal media briefing. They usually do it every day. Yes. They came out, they did one and said, targeting Edo, that they were going to check and enforce some of those protocols. In fact, the next news that came out was that the presidential task force was deliberately putting off structure to arrest supporters of certain political parties and make them feel as if they were COVID-19 positive.
Wow.
So what it means is that at the point of entrance to the polling unit, they were expected to have a tested with a thermometer to check if their temperature is not above the threshold. So the rumor was that, or the fake news or propaganda was that, if a particular supporter or a voter that will vote for a certain candidate is coming, all you need to do is to test the person and then say it's 40.
Wow.
So by the time you say 40, NCDC and co will remove that voter and take them away for isolation.
Thereby reducing the chance.
So that just went boom. And it wasn't true. And they linked it up to the presidential task force, that the task force was going to enforce them. So, and when you look at what the parties were doing across the local government area, across the world when the campaign went, you see the crowding in those locations. Again, don't forget that crowd in the political campaign was a signal for a popularity of candidates.
Exactly.
To just overnight remove that was going to be an uphill task. And enforcing that crowd control was going to also be an uphill task. In the state of Edo, for example, there was strict measure of COVID-19 compliance. You don't go into buildings without face masks. You don't converge more than a certain number of people at a specific location. Even the people put the law, we are seen abusing the laws. So the people started to think that, come on, COVID-19 was just to deprive people. So a lot of stories started to peddle. Majority of them were just fake.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for that. Now that you mentioned the law, you get one story when boss that time. Help us confirm it on Fake News Show today. We heard about 3,000 police officers were going to be deployed for the Aigbe election. Was it true?
30,000, yes.
Oh, 30,000.
Yes, it was actually 31,000 deployed for the election, yes.
It actually was true.
No, because the thing was, we had a meeting with the IGP, the Inspector General of Police, before the election, and they said it was 31. It's actually said about 30,000, but eventually when they were deployed, it was 31,000.
31,000 actually went to Edo.
Yes, but confirm. The story is this. When you count the number of police at the polling unit level, you are going to do a wrong calculation.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Fake News Show. And we have Mr. Aigbe from CDD West Africa here. And we'll take a short break now. When we come back, as we talk now, he's on fire for us. So we'll be right back. Not go anywhere.
1, 2, 3. Now I can send these stories to my brother. He must share it with my mother.
What are you sending to your aged mother?
Come and read. I found these stories on the internet.
Wait, did you verify these stories to be sure they are facts?
Verify? Why?
Have you not heard that it is important for you to always verify stories by doing these 5 before sharing them?
5 things? That's too much for just one story.
First, check the headline if it's sensational. Check the news sites that published it to ensure it's credible. You double check to make sure the same piece has been published by other credible media organizations.
Oh, really?
Yes, check the dates the story was published, and finally, seek experts' opinion and possibly advice on the report.
Wow, I'll quickly verify these by checking the headline, date, source, and seek experts' opinion before I forward them to my brother and mother.
This message is brought to you by the Center for Democracy and Development, CDD. You should only share information from credible sources.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Fake News Show. I'm your host, Frank Donga. Sir, just before the break, you were telling us how actually 31 or 30,000 police officers were sent by the Nigerian police force to Edo elections. How did you confirm that? Is it true? Because me, I think it's in a joke.
No, the thing is, yes, if it look like joke, because see, the question is, where them? Where the police? No, but the one we will see for polling unit, which is true. But the fact is that the police is deployed to protect critical national infrastructure. So there are facilities in the state, bank facilities and all of that. Those deployment goes to those areas. What a critical point I wanted to just highlight, what people saw, is that there are, at the state office of INEC, what I saw with my eyes, give and take, there'll be about 100+ police there deployed around that vicinity on uniform. The ones without uniform, we cannot count. In each of the 18 local government of Edo State, INEC offices had deployment. I am sure, because the one in Oredo had about 10 there, because I went to see. If you check that across these 18 local government, do the calculation. Then there are 192 wards in that same state. There are deployment to those 192 ward INEC offices, what they call rack centers. There are 192 of them. And by the time you then go further, even at those ward, because by the time polling unit is, we're over with polling unit, polling at the polling unit, that's where voting takes place, results move to the ward. The police that do those protection at the polling unit level don't necessarily go to the ward. There are other police officers at that ward. The same thing at that local government, and it goes to the state. And if you go on election day, you go on the street, like I did, moving around because I was roving. At every block or every strategic location you get to, there are police deployment, not less than 10. Manage those area to be sure that people who are not on essential election duties don't have access to the roads. So in my own subconsciousness, if you say that on average about 15,000 were on uniform, let's assume that because the more intelligence, you may have more people that will be plain clothes. People who will be sitting at the beer parlor. People who will be attending church meetings. People will be having meetings, just going anywhere. People who pretend to be mad people on the street, gathering information.
The police force did not actually specify if they were all plain clothes or not going to be plain clothes.
The IGP said, and I'll quote him verbatim, that the ones you see are the clothed policemen. Okay. That there are plain clothes that you can never see. Okay. And if you know intelligence word, you don't reveal the identity of people gathering information. Like that's why, for example, in the CIA world, CIA, they say, is deployed around the world, but they call their budget black budget or blind budget. You don't see the people that are deployed across. And the truth, let me not look as if I'm defending the police. Intelligence is the best you need to counter election violence. You don't need to respond. You need to counter before it happens. And the only way to have that happen is to get it. But again, it has shown that they do election that, man, with the deployment, even though people may argue, because I actually have argued until I had an interaction with the first PRO, DCP Frank Uba, who further expatiated what the IGP said in the meeting we had with him at the CSO meeting. So again, to be candid, let's not throw those dust. The truth of the matter is that if the 30,000 police don't exist, for example, let's say pull out the police, what would the election look like? Where at every polling unit area, there are police officers with arms far away, close to the polling unit, but not within the vicinity of the polling unit for first responder.
So in essence,
because don't forget that the polling unit police officers are not armed.
So that's why we had the people.
That's why you have police around the vicinity of the polling unit who will be armed to provide support to those polling units.
That's why we had peaceful election.
Well, people, was it peaceful? The election, generally, I think everybody has said generally it was peaceful, even though there were pockets of violence. In fact, someone was shot. The police actually shot somebody in the southeast. There are video evidence of that. And there were other incident violence happening in Oriomo area and in some other area, even in Akoko Edo.
So it wasn't totally without its challenges.
For a Nigerian election, you are going to say, coming from Bayelsa and Kogi election, you are going to give an Edo election an atmosphere of fairness to say, well, with the innovation that INEC brought in, with the Z5 to snap result sheet from EC8A at the polling level and transferring that to the INEC result portal, that it brought about some level of peaceful atmosphere. That did not remove vote buying.
What do you think the state agencies and politicians or political parties could have done better in managing misinformation or disinformation during this COVID-19?
Well, one of the things we saw was that the political actors were even the one peddling the fake news.
Wow.
In fact, before the election, results were already coming out. Okay. In fact, we have a full result, 18 local government results, and that was peddling, and it was suggested that if INEC changes that result, there will be anarchy. So the parties must sincerely help the Nigerian state. This is the only country of ours that you can call yours, except you have double citizenship. Maybe you're an American and you're say Nigerian. But for those of us who are purely Nigerians, this is our country. Fake news has the capacity to burn down this nation. And we have said that again and again. In a dual election, if the result had gone against the fake news, if the result had gone against it, probably we will not be talking about...
What could the state have done differently? Or INEC, what could INEC have done differently? Because we are talking about, a result that was published, and there was a threat that if this result, if the INEC result not match this one, while I go deal, how could INEC as an institution, what could they have done differently to ensure that communication and information is as transparent as possible and quickly disseminated, not to give room or chance for all this kind of stuff?
INEC did transparent process effectively. You have a responsibility anywhere you are in the world to access INEC results portal and check for every result at the polling unit and do your own calculation. But the parties were not. Rather, they were forging the results. So the question is, INEC was doing it. INEC appointed everybody to the results. But what we're saying is the party knew what the propaganda machine was. Push INEC to the corner. Push them to the point that they have no choice. Let's prepare them for war. We are going to do this, we're going to do that. But INEC, and I also feel a bit skeptical when people begin to say we thank INEC, we thank President Buhari, we thank police, we thank army for making you further engage a process of even giving hope where there is no hope. INEC job is to conduct peaceful, credible election.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And are you doing your job? If INEC is doing his job, is INEC doing his job? If you're a politician, are you doing your job? If you're a citizen, are you doing your job? All we're asking you is that you verify information. No. Thank you very much, Mr. Austin Aigbe from CDD West Africa. It's been a great pleasure having you on this show. Information, misinformation, management, during election, at this time of COVID-19, that's what we've been talking about on this show. We have more coming for you after this break. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Actually, not believe fake news.
Yes, fake news is something that is not genuine.
Anything we say they don't take eye see. Then they open their mouth and they talk. Then they open their mouth to talk and say, and they see one bed where on the top of wire, where turn to human being, and they see where goat, they lay egg, and they see where chicken, they enter inside university, go collect lecture, then go carry their mouth, they spread the fake news up and down. Spreaders of fake news. I don't want to stop to spread the fake news. Carry hand, cover your mouth like this.
Yes, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I tell you, say the matter goes strong, eh? Hey, let's talk now. You just watch. We talk to who? We talk to CDD West Africa Senior Programs Officer. That's Austin Aigbe. Talking about COVID-19 issue vis-a-vis election, misinformation, and all these bobo tibo. Now we just finished talk. Thank you guys for staying with us and watching. Now, CDD West Africa, you know what they are good for? Fact checking, debunking some fake news. You get some fake news now where they don't prepare down. They are ready to debunk. This one you're about to watch. You yourself, you see it now. You're asking me, okay, see them for yourself. See them for yourself. You don't cast now. Wait till cast. More look.
CDD Fact Check Report. Fake News Alert.
Did 15 Nigerian lawmakers test positive to COVID-19? This claim remained unproven. Both chambers of National Assembly have debunked the report that 50 lawmakers have tested positive to COVID-19. Speculations that the 50 lawmakers tested positive is unproven. CDD urges members of the public to verify claim before sharing them.
CDD Fact Check Report. Fake News Alert.
Has WHO finally approved Madagascar's COVID-19 organics? Fact checkers at the CDD can confirm that WHO has not approved Madagascar's COVID-19 organics as a cure for coronavirus. CDD urges members of the public to read beyond headlines before sharing any news reports.
CDD Fact Check Report. Fake News Alert.
You don't say so? You don't say so? That's why it's always good for you to confirm information before you spread it. When you carry information, they forward it to your WhatsApp. Confirm. Where is it from? Is it true? Is it real? Ask questions. Compare from 2 or 3 sources. Don't just carry every information where you see. They forward on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Don't overreact to every information because you need to ask yourself the question, is this misinformation or disinformation? Gist the sweet now, rumor the sweet until it becomes your own. Be careful the information you spread. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching this episode of Fake News Show. This program has been an initiative of CDD West Africa. If you have any information, tweet at us at CDD West Africa. If you tweet at me at frankdonga_, send me a message, a DM. I'll respond to you. Join the conversation. Hashtag Fake News Show. Hashtag Stop Fake News. Lend your voice to the cry out against misinformation and disinformation. Not just on the citizens level, even you are in authority, you are a leader, a president, a governor, wherever you are, you are a policy maker. Don't peddle misinformation. Don't inform your citizens. Don't inform your subjects or the people you are over. In that office, you carry rumor, you carry fake news. Check yourself. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. And so they talk am. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for sticking with us on this episode. Join us again next episode for Fake News Show, where we'll bring you more interesting stuff.
Fake News Show is an initiative of Center for Democracy and Development with support from USAID through the National Democratic Institute.